All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Sweet House. Today, I have our hometown hero, fellow Tennessean. I'm from Tennessee, too, born and raised. But I have WNBA star Alysha Clark, and we are happy to have you back home in Nashville because you brought Athletes Unlimited pro basketball back with you. And so we're honored to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, it was hard work having to wrangle a professional league to come here, but I did it.
Yeah, you did it. But how amazing is that, though? Because I'm just so excited that Nashville put in a bid for a WNBA team. And from what I hear, we're going to find out if we got that bid this fall. So I'm excited. Are you going to come back and play for the Nashville team, whatever it's called?
Oh, no. I'm going to be retired by... I'll be retired by 2028. But if there's some sort of way that I can be involved with it, I absolutely would love to be.
Yeah.
Just because I think having a WNBA team here in Tennessee, I mean, you grew up here and just the rich women's basketball culture that's here in the state. I think these fans for a very long time have really wanted a professional team to be able to root for.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the way they show up for the universities and stuff like that. So to be able to have an actual pro team here, I think would be amazing. And Athletes Unlimited is kind of laying that, testing the waters and laying the foundation right now to show, the support. I mean, yesterday they put out that ticket sales are up 125%
I
from
saw that
last
on
year.
Instagram. Yeah.
And I was like, come on, Nashville.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting because this is home. And so when you see things thrive here, it makes you proud.
Yeah. And I also feel like sometimes Nashville has been the forgotten city in the mix of all the cities because everyone's like LA, Chicago, New York, Atlanta, but now everybody's seeing that Nashville is this star on the map. And so it's really cool to have companies like Athletes Unlimited explore this landscape.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting. But my mom went to college with Pat Head Summit at UT Martin.
That's amazing.
I've always known about her. And then I told you everybody in my family has played basketball. So shout out to my cousins, Tori Thornton, Melanie, and my cousin Asia Taylor is currently playing in the AU basketball league with you. So have you guys gotten to cross paths with
I mean, we see each other, all the players, we see each other whether we're at the gym or at the apartments and stuff. So I've gotten to see her husband and her daughter and just in around. I haven't had time to sit and chat, but
I think it's so cool that she had a baby and then went right back to playing.
Listen, this needs to be studied. No, I'm so serious because there is something about athletes who've had children, they come back 50 times better than they did before the baby. And I'm like, there's something
in the water
in there. Yeah, because I mean, you look at it, you look across even just specifically basketball players, but you look at Tina Thompson, you look at Candace Parker, you look at Skylar Diggins-Smith, you look at all of these players and you're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
It needs to be studied.
I think it needs to be studied, period.
That's amazing.
It is. And I did not even consider becoming a mom until my 30-somethings because I've always been a career woman by default. So I was like, I'm going after my career first and then I'll consider that. Because in my mind, society makes you think that your life will stop when you become a mom.
Yeah.
And it's the exact opposite. It's like the doors open and for whatever reason, you get this internal push to get back out there. So me seeing Asia out there and all the women that you named is also just really cool and it should be studied.
Yeah.
So I think it's we don't have to go somewhere and sit down somewhere.
Exactly.
And you're saying you're going to be retired, but I don't believe her, y'all.
I'm going to be retired by 2028.
Are the knees going out?
No, but I was like, I don't want to be 40 years old playing basketball. I don't, it's just, I don't know.
You don't want to be LeBron James?
Listen, I admire what he's done. Hats off to that man.
Yeah.
But I also don't have the same budget he has for the year-round care that he gets.
Yeah.
And two, and he also has a family. So, he didn't have to miss time. I want a family. And so I'm like, I don't want to be 45 having kids. I would like to have a family before that.
But you know what? We're also capable of doing that. So,
once there's no coming back for me. So
but it's really cool to see you do your thing and to really show up for the state of Tennessee when it comes to pro basketball. And even so, the I forget the exact name of the museum, but the Basketball Hall of Fame. Is it the Basketball Hall of Fame Museum at UC Knox?
Oh,
it's in
the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yes. You know what? I want to move everything to Nashville so people don't have to go all over the state to find these things because it's not, Knoxville is great, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, can we move this museum to Nashville so people can see?
Have like a sister Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and see how cool that our state is when it comes to basketball.
Yeah.
So I think it's like you go to Memphis to see the Grizzlies, and then you go to Knoxville to see this Hall of Fame, but then it's like Nashville,
Now you'll be able to come to Nashville and see WNBA team.
Yeah, you will. And maybe you'll be coaching. I'm speaking this. Look, I'm planning out her career for her.
As long as I'm not playing.
As long as she's not playing. But I do want to see you in some capacity back in Nashville. Maybe you'll be, I don't know, maybe you'll be the GM.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Candace, I don't know what y'all are thinking. Like, holla at your girl.
Yeah. Well, she's open to it, so I endorse that.
Yeah,
so.
Thank you.
So we didn't realize that we also had mutual friends in Nashville, and so it's such a small world when you go to college in Tennessee. I went to University of Memphis. You went to MTSU, and then we also have lots of mutual friends in the mix too. So how are you maintaining friendship amidst your busy playing schedule?
Honestly, it's pretty easy now because, once you have your circle of people, they know your schedule, they know how you operate. And so for me, it's, whether that's check-ins, once a week or FaceTime dates, on off days. But I have a small circle of friends that pour into me and that I pour into, and that's been, they've been with me through this whole journey. And so that makes it really special when you have those people that you can lean on throughout that. And too, they don't take it personally.
Are they in the basketball world as well?
Not anymore.
Okay.
My two best friends, both, I played with one in high school and then the other one at Belmont my first 2 years. And those are my ride or dies. And so they are no longer that. The one that I played with at Belmont, her name is Kristen. She is a doctor of chiropractor. And my best friend, Christian, who's from here.
How do you keep them apart?
That's here. She is a stay-at-home mom with her 2 babies. And so when I'm home, I get to go spend time with her and them. And it's just, it's amazing. And same with, my other friend, KB, she has 3 little ones. And so, I go to Atlanta and spend time with them as well. And so I'm a big family, like a big family person. And so all of my free time is usually with somebody within my circle.
So when you retire, do you want to come back to Nashville?
My house is here.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought my house 7 years ago now. It's out in Mount Juliet where, I grew up. Not far from my parents' house and from my best friend, so it's nice. But yeah, I would like to have, whether I'm here like full time, I don't know what that'll look like, but I'll always have a place here. This is because this is home. This is where my family is.
We'll always have you here.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Don't kick me out.
We are going to run her off if she loses any games during this series. Speaking of, let's talk about the setup of Athletes Unlimited, because when I went, my cousin told me she was on the blue team the first night. This week she's on the purple team. How are the teams chosen? Yeah,
so each week there's 4 captains, and the 4 captains are the 4 players who've accumulated the most points from the week prior. So you get points from scoring baskets, making assists, blocks, steals, all the positive things in the game of basketball. But then you also get subtracted points for missed shots, turnovers, fouls that you commit, stuff like that. And so once those are all tallied up it's tallied up after every game and then added from the 3 games. And so at the end of the week, whoever has the 4 highest are the captains. And so now it's a new draft. So then every Monday there's a draft. And so depending on who the captain is, depends on what team. So last week, whoever she was on with blue drafted her. And this week, whoever's on, the purple captain was like, I want her on my team this week. And so that's how it goes for all 4 weeks. You play with new players and it keeps it exciting.
How is it to mesh with your new team members? Because it's like, these aren't the people you typically play with.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, it's easy.
Yeah.
When I'm in the basketball space, one of my jobs as a leader, just on any team that I'm on, is to be able to find ways to connect with my teammates and learn them. And this is a little bit of a more expedited way to do that, but it's good for me because it's teaching me how to like mesh quicker with them. But yeah, I mean, everyone here is great. They are here to play and want to get better and learn. And so for me, I love being in those environments with those kinds of teammates. So it makes it easy.
So what age did you start playing basketball?
The first time I ever touched a basketball was 7th grade. I knew nothing about it prior to. It was just something I did after school. I was like, oh, we'll try out this sports thing and see what this is like. So yeah, that I had no idea, but like that was the first time I ever like touched a basketball.
You know, it's so interesting because I feel like the greats start later in life, and it's just interesting because you would think that you've been playing since you were 2 years old, because you know everyone's trying to like shove something into their kids' lives, whether it's ballet, soccer, basketball, or whatever, as soon as they start walking. And so it's interesting that's why I asked, because it's interesting that you started later. I actually played basketball too.
Okay.
And I started playing when I was in kindergarten, and I stopped probably in 2nd grade. But I come from a basketball family. And I think my mom's whole intent was like, I'm going to find out what you all enjoy. So she put us in everything: pageants, soccer, basketball, cheerleading. I did baton. I did it all. But basketball was not for me. But for my cousins, they flourished with basketball. But I like to dance. So.
Oh, see, no, my family was a music family. So that was kind of like just what everybody naturally flowed into. And so, you know, in 6th grade, like I was a part of choir, and that's what I did, you know. And then getting into 7th grade, it was kind of like, I mean, choir's cool, but I don't really like being on stage. I don't like this being on stage thing. Like, this is, who wants to do that? That's not for me. And so kind of finding my way into sports, I was like, all right, this isn't so bad. Like I can compete, because I was a competitive kid. And even though it wasn't in sports, it was in every other area. Like I was going to be the best at whatever it was. And in particular in school. So to be able to find sports and kind of like see that my competitiveness fit in that box, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool.
I love
so I
that.
stuck with it.
It's a word to the parents, especially the new parents, because Rain is actually going to ballet. My daughter, she's 3. She's going to ballet after school today. But I've also been gently just introducing her to things. So she does not have a full schedule of like soccer on Saturday morning and basketball during this week. I'm just kind of like, what do you enjoy? And ironically, so I took her to the game, the AU basketball game on Friday night.
And my girl liked basketball.
She liked it. She sat there with her popcorn, and she was serious business. Okay?
I love it.
She sat there with the popcorn, and she was just like chomping down, and she was cheering and all of it. That. So she loved it. So I think we might try it out and see, but I'm not going to force it. I just want her to go gently into it. But so did you do AAU basketball and the whole circuit? I just remember growing up, my cousins were all doing all this. We would go see them on the road playing basketball. And just how deep were you into all of the mix?
Honestly, I didn't play AAU till we moved here to Mount Juliet. And we moved here my sophomore year of high school. So that was 2002. We moved November 2002. And my first year playing AAU was that following summer going into my junior year. Because I didn't know it. Again, I was so late to basketball. You know, my first year of like training and learning how to play was freshman year of high school. That was the first time I ever tried out, where I had to like learn the fundamentals and learn how to play basketball. And so when we moved to Tennessee, the mecca of freaking women's basketball, all my teammates have been playing since they were in kindergarten and younger. And I'm just sitting here like,
was it intimidating?
So intimidating, because at the time I barely knew what like a bounce pass was. I barely knew what a front pivot was. And we're in practice going through all these drills, and he's like, front pivot. And I was like, I kid you not. I looked at my teammate. I was like, what is that? And she was like, turn that way. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, so I'm like, here I am at 16 years old, barely knowing the game, and I'm around all these, at the time, they were like professionals to me. So yeah, it was something that for me, I was like, thank God I loved the journey and the challenge of it, because I was so far behind. And I felt like I was just constantly having to play catch up.
Yeah. But I think that also exposed you to your drive in basketball too.
Yeah.
So you weren't late. You were on time.
Yeah.
And speaking of on time, she went on to become a 3-time WNBA champion and also 2023's WNBA 6th Person of the Year.
Yeah.
So how does that feel to have these kind of accolades, knowing that you started late?
Yeah.
She didn't start late.
It's actually really wild.
Did you foresee it? Was it on your vision board that this is how it was all going to play out?
No, honestly, even in high school, like that wasn't a dream of mine. Like I didn't grow up watching the WNBA. I knew what it was, like vaguely, but again, because of where I was, that wasn't like a dream of mine that I was like, oh, this is where I'm going to go. And so going into college, it was just kind of like, okay, this is a way that I can, get my degree and not have to put that burden on my parents. And then from there, we'll see, like I'll go on to be, pediatrician or whatever at the time that I want it to be. And so when I sit back and have these types of conversations where it's like reflective, I'm just constantly in awe, because I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
But I'm extremely grateful because, I hope that when someone looks at my journey, that they see that exact sentiment is like, you're never too late for something that's for you.
Yeah.
And even like with my WNBA 6th Player of the Year award, I was 35, 36, and so the oldest, I had never won an individual award before in our league. And so for that to happen in that moment was also a big deal. And so, it's been fun. It's been crazy. And every time I think about it, I think about where I started when I was at Mount Juliet, like just what I looked like. And if people then, I'm sure like my coaches and stuff saw something different in me, but I'm sure that from outside looking in, they were like,
what's
she's
this?
Not about to be.
Yeah. Well, what do they think now? Are you in touch with anybody from the past?
Yeah. Honestly, like the players from our state championship team, that starting 5 group, like we're still friends to this day.
Yeah.
And even some of the other players. So it's cool. Like we had our 20-year reunion a couple months ago, and just seeing everybody was like, it literally put me right back in Mount Juliet in 2005, 2004, 2005 with all of them.
Yeah.
And just being able to see them with their families and their children, and just having, conversation. Like we all went to go eat and get some drinks after the ceremony, and just being able to catch up. And it's so nice because you don't realize at the time, like what a bond that you're building. And even though you don't talk for 15, 20 years, when you're right back together, it's like, no time has passed.
Yeah.
And I think those are the really special bonds.
Yeah.
So
well,
it's cool.
I love all of the sentiments that you shared, especially when it comes to time. So I started this whole podcast to talk about nonlinear career trajectories, because none of us have like a straight shot of where we're going.
Yeah.
And so I've had so many different people come on, from Broadway stars to the GM of the Titans, Rand.
Oh, I love
I've
Rand.
had literally everybody, and nobody said this is where I thought I was going to be.
Yeah.
And so it is very inspiring to the average person who's trying to figure out who they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing. So before we started recording this episode, we were talking about books that we've read. So I was talking about The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, but you were telling us about a book that you read that kind of helped you figure out who you want to be and what you want to do without all of the environmental pressures.
Yeah.
So tell us about it.
Yeah, it's called Wanting: The Power of Mimesis. And so, the power of mimicking. And it's in our lives. Like it's ingrained in who we are from the time we're babies. Like we mimic everything, what we see, that's how we learn. And it plays a role in the choices that we make, because it's what's around us. It's who you surround yourself with, whether it's celebrities. And it's a really great read. It breaks it down from like close proximity and like celebrity people. And the close proximity people are the ones that like you usually get in conflict with, because it's like you feel like there's not enough for the both of you. And so that creates conflict. And then the celebrity ones, you're like, oh, that's what I want. I want to have that and have these things. Far-fetched.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's like when you're making these choices, where you want to live, what car you want to drive, what clothes you want to wear, it's based on like what other people have, and you don't really realize that you're doing it. And so your choices really aren't coming from what you actually want.
Their influence.
Yeah. And so to be able to take it, you know, takes you through of how to like recognize those patterns when it happens, how to like really go inside and figure out what is it that you want and relearn that. And so, I mean, something is, we were talking about the example. It's like, okay, if we're all going out to eat and it's like, oh, let's get a cocktail. And I'm like, you know, inside I'm not really in the mood to have a cocktail, but you're like, I'm getting one. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get one too, knowing I don't want it.
Yeah. But you just feel the societal pressure to just do it.
Exactly. So it's a really great read. And it's just, you know, I'm an avid learner. I love to read. And so just being able to read stuff about our lives, our mind. I'm always intrigued. I love Malcolm Gladwell, you know, like understanding why we think the way we think and make the choices. So those are usually like the spaces I do a lot of reading in.
I love that you shared that with us.
Yeah.
So I had to bring it up on the podcast because I think we're constantly relearning and trying to figure out what we're supposed to be doing. So I have to ask you, what did you want to do? Did you want to be a pediatrician or were you going to be the next Beyonce? Because you mentioned you were in the choir. So.
Was definitely not going the Beyonce route that much, I can tell you.
Can you sing?
I know how to hold a note and I can harmonize. But when I think of people that can like sing, I think of like people that can sing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not me. Like my siblings, like they can sing. Like my family
We're going back to them in a minute.
Yeah. But me, I'm not tone deaf. Like I know how to hear and whatever. But yeah, singing, it's just not, because I don't like the attention, like the sole focus on me. And like, I feel like when you're in the music, it's literally you. And so that's
cool. Why I didn't like basketball though, because I definitely felt like everybody was focused on me and whether I made the shot and if I did it the right way. Yeah. And I also feel like because I came from a basketball family, my Aunt Dee played basketball in college. She was at Louisville. And I just like, I don't know. I didn't like it. I felt like it was too much pressure on me.
See,
if I don't make the shot, I'm like, my brothers are on the sidelines laughing. My sister's like, well, I made the shot. I just, I'm like,
for me, I feel the opposite. Sing. Oh, see, no, I feel the opposite. I'm like, there's 9 other people on the court and it's not just you. Yeah. And you can kind of just like do your thing, but in the background. And
but still, everybody's watching, and you have to play in front of all these people.
But they're not just watching me. They're watching all 10 of us out there. So I'm like, cool. Yeah. I can do that. That's all right.
You get to go with the group. I get it. Yeah. It's like your choir on the court.
There you go. That's my choir on the court.
Yes.
So. But singing, definitely not. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician. I love kids. I love being able to help kids feel and be kids. That's always been a passion of mine. And so I thought that was the route to go. And it was like, oh, I'm gonna go help all these kids that I can help. And so that was my original plan in high school.
Yeah. And speaking of kids, you guys, Athletes Unlimited does have a wonderful childcare program for all of their athletes. And so they do provide nannies and childcare and everything. So that's so cool. So if you want to become a mom and then come back and play, you know that
you're trying to keep me playing a lot longer.
I'm trying to make her play for the WNBA team when they come to Nashville. But you do have that option.
Maybe they'll sign me for a one-day contract.
We just clarified this with the PR manager here on set. So I'm trying to make sure that she's still in the league when the WNBA comes to Nashville.
No.
Oh my gosh. I'm not going to let you live this down, especially because you wanted to be a pediatrician.
I know.
So you are going to continue playing.
We're calling him here, 2028. Here I come. I can't even imagine. That would be wild.
Really?
Yeah.
But see, you never know where you're going to go is the thing. So you never saw yourself in this seat and now you're here.
I would be 41 years old.
I feel like you could be LeBron James. I'm speaking this into existence. So can you share some of your most memorable times from college? You talked about your high school experience and reunion and meeting back up with all your old friends like it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
So what about MTSU and Belmont?
Yeah. I think what stands out most to me at Belmont is the 5 of us that came in together. We, were dubbed the Fab Five. Myself, Jessica Bobbitt, Amber Rockwell, Luana Holiday, and Kristen Bunch. We were the 5 freshmen that came in, and I think that helped just kind of change the trajectory of that program. You know, we were able to compete with top programs around the country, and we helped them get to their first ever NCAA tournament. And so that was something that was really special because, you know, this group of 5 Black girls came into Belmont. At the time, you know, there wasn't a lot of us. And so to be able to come in and compete and kind of just be that
beacon of hope.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And just be able to kind of give that program a boost. It was something that was really special to be a part of.
You all have star names. Everybody has a star name. I wondered that when I was watching you guys play the other night. I was like, is this a requirement to be in the WNBA that you have a star name or to be an Athletes Unlimited Pro?
Yeah.
I'm like, you all have like light names that I can see in the lights.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and on the announcers.
That's great.
It is interesting. So you were positioned for this.
Yeah, thank you.
Alysha Clark coming to the stage. No, coming to the court, not the stage.
Right.
So,
and that's funny because like I feel like my name is very like normal.
Yeah. No, it's just when they say it though. But you are a vibe.
Oh, thank you.
She comes in today and we had to break down this outfit. So let's break it down. Break it down for us. Yes.
Shout out Adidas. We got some Adidas on, even down to the socks. The pants are ALC, and this top, it starts with a P, the brand name, but I got it on Amazon.
And it comes in multiple colors.
I got like 10 of them.
Yeah. We'll link it in the episode.
Yeah, honestly, like it's literally the best. Like these are so soft. I have short sleeve and long sleeve. And then just like some little, this is my urn pendant of my father. His name was Dwayne, so I have a D and his ashes are here. I have my little cross and Hamsa for good luck and because I'm a believer, or a ring because you know we gotta stay tracking everything, output, and then my bracelet that Happy Jewelers made for me. It has each of my family members' birthstones on it, so that way you know I have my dad with me now wherever I go, and now I have the rest of my family with me wherever I go, and so these are like my mainstays in my
it's so interesting because I actually had the founder of a jewelry company on yesterday, and so cool because we talked about that same sentiment about how wearing jewelry you can take your people with you. Because I've never been a big jewelry person. I do small earrings, a bracelet, my wedding ring, and I'm good to go. But now that I'm a mom, and Alex and I have been together for 15 years. I just feel like I want them with me all the time. So it definitely feels good to have sentimental pieces on too.
You should get get a pendant that has like their birthstones or like their names. I'm a minimalist when it comes to jewelry too. So
and speaking of, my dad passed in 2016, so I'm a part of that club too. But I always feel like he's with me. And ironically, so I was speaking at Microsoft a couple weeks ago, and my sister's a Grammy-nominated artist, and my sister came to watch me speak, and her song started playing over the speaker, and I was like, Daddy's here. This is crazy. So it is wild. Does your dad show up in those ways?
Oh, so many ways. Especially the first year after he passed. So he passed in September of 22. And that was the first WNBA season I had to play without him. And there were so many moments throughout that season that he showed up. And even now it's like, you know, he loved Tupac's California Love. Like that was his jam. And so I'd be out somewhere like in a place you wouldn't expect it. And then all of a sudden it comes over the radio and I'm like, oh, hey Pops, you know, just like little moments like that. But yeah, he definitely is around and he shows up in different ways. And it's just kind of like a little nudge to me, like, hey, I'm still here.
You're still here. He's still here, and you're exactly where you need to be. Not late, but on time, and exactly where you need to be.
Amen.
And thank you for sharing that with us. I'm very open about talking about, my dad passed in 2016, so it's been a while now, but I still am so open about talking about it just because I don't see death in the same way now. I feel like he's still with me, so I get to feel that every day. So
I try to find moments where I talk about him more. You know, in the beginning, obviously it's still hard. It's still fresh for me, but I've I've learned that it's okay if I do get emotional, because it's like a way to show like all the love that I had for him. And I think that's kind of helped when I do talk about him, because I felt like it was such a bad thing to cry when I'm talking about him, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to make other people sad. But I'm like, I'm sad because that's how much love I had for this man.
Yeah.
You know? But any chance that I get to be able to talk about him and share what a light he was, I do, because, you know, that was my guy, you know, and so to be able to share him with the world and share him with people that didn't know him or didn't have a chance to know him, I'm like, dang it, you're unlucky, because he was amazing.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my dad too. And I always share. I mean, I think every podcast, something happens or somebody says something. I had no plans of talking about my dad today, but then you started talking about how his ashes are with you. And I'm like, well, I feel you, sister, because I also have had that same experience. So, and a lot of my friends have had that same experience, but I went first. And so I've been able to testify and just be a beacon of hope to them too. So it gets better. It's hard. It is, but it does get better. So, and now that I'm a mom, I feel like I understand what it's like to lose somebody to death, but then also to give birth. So I understand the cycle of life a little differently. And
that's beautiful.
and Rain was actually born on the day we buried my dad. So it all came full circle for me too.
Wow.
I think that really shifted it. So I feel like I tell that story every time I'm doing a podcast. Why do I do this?
That should be shared. That's beautiful.
But you said you came from a musical family and your brother was on American Idol. So are you going on American Idol? I'm forcing her.
Absolutely not.
I'm forcing her to continue her career.
No.
I'm about to force her to get on the stage again.
No, listen, the music, I am just an avid listener of music. I am an enjoyer of music. I am not a doer of music, and I am okay with that.
So no instruments. She's from Music City, but
actually I'm learning how to play the piano right now.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I bought a piano for myself at Christmas because I was like, I want to learn how to play the piano.
I love that. I love that. Okay, you've inspired me to go learn something new.
Good.
She did tell us she was a forever learner at the beginning.
Honestly, and that's something, in like all serious, but like that's something that since my dad has passed, I was like, I want to learn something new every year. I want to learn how to do something new.
Yeah.
And so
are you teaching yourself?
No. So there's I'm taking lessons, and then on the piano, it comes with like an app that has like, you can teach yourself at home basically. Like they have lesson plans and it takes you through it. So but every year I'm like, I want to learn something new. And so this year it's piano. And so next year I'll figure out what that's going to be. But every year I'm going to add something new to the toolbox and learn something new.
So Alysha Clark is going to become Alicia Keys.
I've had enough people that say I look like her, so I'm like, let me just try to learn how to play the piano and fake it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll sit in New York in the train station and get my hair braided and pretend that I'm her.
Okay, look, I'm about to put you on the stage with Kevin Hart or somebody next. She's like halfway a comedian too. I love this interview. You're just sharing so many tidbits that we don't find online about you. So I'm grateful. I always give people their flowers when they come to the Sweet House. That's why the podcast is called The Sweet House. And I feel like you're such a well-rounded person. And
thank you.
We don't necessarily get to see that side of athletes because we see you on the court, but we don't get to know you outside of that.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. That's why I was like, I have to sit down with her. Y'all have to make this happen because I need to know her. And I feel like the people need to hear about your tenacity and your story, what makes you you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I love it. So there you go. But back to your musical family, because you said music has been like, that was the thing in your family until you stepped into basketball. Yeah. Tell us more about it.
Yeah. I mean, since I can remember, music was like our family love language. You know, there was always music playing anytime we had like family gatherings, music was playing. And so, when we moved to Tennessee is actually when I decided that, because up until that point I was still in choir and I was like going with it. Because in Kansas at the time they had, I can't remember the name of it now, but it was 6 girls and 6 boys. And it was, you would travel around the state, go to competitions, et cetera. And I had just gotten accepted to be one of the 6 girls for that. And I was like all hyped because, you know, my family's like, oh, you can't sing that. And I was like, look at me now.
Yeah.
And then we moved here to Tennessee, and so I was still a part of choir. But when I started to play basketball, and the demand was way different here. In like a good way. Like that's why the basketball history in this state is what it is, because of the commitment and dedication to the sport. And so I was like, oh, it's starting to conflict with choir. So I'm like, I got to make a choice. And I was like, well, I'm going sports route because I know I enjoy this way more than this. Yeah. This I'm doing because my family does it. Yeah. It's not my choice, but I'm like, I'm gonna do it because they're doing it. And I was like, no, I really like this sports thing. So I'm gonna stick with basketball. And so that's when I made that choice, that switch between, you know, basketball and music. But honestly, it's the same, right? In a sense of, it's a creative outlet. You know how music is, you get to do that with your words, right? Through your lyrics. And basketball is, you know, through your motion, like your skills and your motions on the court. It's like poetry in motion on the court. And so it's a way to still be creative, but like my creativity was this side and music is this side. And so I was like, cool, we're gonna stay over here. And so again, and it gave me that place to be competitive, because I'm at the end of the day, I'm a competitor, and music just isn't the place for that. Like you can only sing as good as you can sing. You can only harmonize as good as you can harmonize. And if you're not like in a space where you're going to be a mega superstar, like there's really no way to compete. It's just like, you want people to enjoy. And I'm like, no, I want to compete. And so that's what ultimately made me decide, like, I want basketball over music.
Yeah. Is your brother still doing music after American Idol too?
Yeah, he is. Him and my sister Asia, they've, you know, both had their own independent careers and done some stuff. And now just kind of, it's more of like, not a hobby, but just kind of not as mainstay as it was before. But yeah, they're still doing music, and that's always going to be their connection. Yeah. Because that was a connection that they had with my dad. Yeah. Was the music part of it.
And how many kids are in your family?
So there's 7 total.
Ooh,
but
family.
My parents had 4 of us. So my older brother, who was on American Idol, my older sister Asia, who I was just talking about, myself, and my younger sister Alysha.
I'm the youngest of 5, so I also come from a rather large family too. And we're a music family too. Okay. So that's why I picked up on your music history. Yeah. So everybody in our family can sing. Valerie's Grammy nominated.
That's
and
amazing.
she's out here killing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we're all doing different things now too. So it is cool. But I feel like it's cool to have that one thing in your family that you like can go back to, because that's what feels good for the family. Yeah. But I want to talk about social media and your career. We touched a little bit on finding out what you want in life when you were talking about that book, and just all the influences that are around us. So how are you maintaining who you are amidst social media, the changes of the WNBA now becoming this like mainstream thing that it wasn't when you were in high school, but now it's everybody wants to see what's happening in the NBA. Everybody's talking about all the stars. Yeah. You know, how are you maintaining who you are amidst all of the noise on social media?
You know, I think I'm actually really grateful that I came up in a time where social media and stuff wasn't a part of who we were or like our culture at the time.
We're the last generation.
You know, and then it was like just starting in college, and what it started out as, you know, having to have your college email to be able to get an account. And like, it was just a place to share like who you were. Like that's what it was. And so I got to come up in that time. And even before, where, you know, you show off your outfits when you're walking to the front of the class to sharpen your pencils. You know what I mean? Like there was that human to human interaction and like that way to kind of work those types of things out. And so even with the takeoff of where the W and women's sports is right now and the access that people have because of social media, I've been able to maintain who I am through that. And for me, I'm somebody that I like to be present. And so I don't have a need to constantly be on my social media apps. And like what I do share is because it's my choice, not because I feel pressured or forced to. Yeah. But then too, it's also just like authentic, like who I am. And I think, you know, we had this when we sat down, I don't have to force an image. I don't have to force.
You don't have to perform for the internet.
Perform or anything. It's just like, this is who I am. I'm going to share parts of it. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, okay, great. But, that doesn't have any real life effect on me because I'm still going to go about my day to day. I'm still going to talk to my friends. I'm going to love on my nieces and nephew. I'm going to be around people that I love and care about and do things that bring me joy. And like, I think that's where now a lot of athletes and players maybe have struggled is because they put so much into what is being said about them. And like, there's times, right, when people are saying so many crazy things about you online that like will get to you. But at the end of the day, I'm like, the block button is real. Protecting my peace is real. And at the end of the day, I know these people don't actually know me. But it is fun because it does give fans access to who we are as players that have never been there. But like that access has never been there before. And so it's really great because now you're getting to see the personalities and the duality of like our players and what they're interested in and just how dope these women are in our league. And, brands are coming in now and there's like more sponsorships and rightfully so, you know what I mean?
It's about time.
Okay. I keep saying that. I'm like, it's about time. But that's the beautiful side of social media because you do get to make connections. When I do stuff like my philanthropic work, the amount of people that support that through social media is really beautiful. And it's just a reminder that like, there are a lot more people out here that are good humans than there are the other. And just being able to tap into those communities is a reminder of that. And so I try to make sure that like, that's what is shown on my feeds. That's what's shown and who I interact with online. And in turn that just helps keep my peace.
Same. I love your perspective on social media because that's how I interact. Even though my job is an influencer and then also a lot of my work is outward facing, but I'm very much so the same way. I'm like, I'm not performing for the internet. Like this is who I am in real life.
You should perform for the internet.
You're going to perform for the internet. Alysha Keys is performing.
You see her shirt.
Look, Alysha.
Perform for the internet.
Okay, I'm going to get that printed on a shirt and I'm going to put your name right underneath the slogan.
As long as yours is right beside it, let's do it.
We're going on tour. Okay, meet us at Bridgestone or Nissan Stadium.
Period, okay.
It's Jasmine Sweet and Alysha Keys because I'm changing her last tour. Oh my gosh, you are hilarious. I don't think you guys knew she was this funny.
I know. I always tell people, I'm like, I'm really funny.
Yeah, you really are. You really are a comedian in real life.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, beautiful. And just, you're my new best friend. My daughter told me that last night. She said, Mommy, you're my best friend. I said, Oh, my heart. But I know, it's so sweet. Well, I'm going to move on because I read that you wanted to be a chef. So you got to tell us about this too.
Yeah. So I'm a big foodie. And so a lot of, my career, we play overseas. So it's WNBA, then overseas and back and forth just year round. And so playing overseas has given me the opportunity to explore new cultures, explore new food. And that's been like the most rewarding part of this basketball journey is just being able to experience other cultures and bring back bits and pieces from around the world of things that I fell in love with back home, whether that's through family or food, but in particular food. So when I'm over there, I'm trying everything. So I love to cook. It's like my release away from basketball. It's a way to kind of feed that competitive spirit, that challenge. I love a challenge. And so cooking is a way to still be able to do that. And I just love good food. So I'm like, when I was overseas, I was missing home and I was like, I want to make, and I hadn't had a chicken pot pie in like probably a decade, but I was like, I really want a chicken pot pie. And so, when you're over there, there's different ingredients, different things that they don't have that we have here. And so I was like, okay, well, let me Google how to make a homemade chicken pot pie. And it was like, oh, get this. And I was like, well, they don't have that here. So how do you make homemade cream of chicken soup? And that's where like my love of cooking kind of developed and learning just to make everything from scratch. And I was like, wow, doing this is so much better. And so that's just kind of where that took off for me. it was a way for me to connect to home. Again, food was another one of our family love languages. That was something that, you know, there was always food, like regardless of what we had.
Be a Southern family and not have food.
And you know what's crazy is like, I didn't grow up my entire life in the South, but I feel like the principles and like the values that we had, that my dad and my parents raised us with, was basically Southern in a way of like, you're going to take care of other people. You're going to make people feel welcome. You're going to make them feel valued, and you're going to serve a meal to make them, you know, feel your love.
Yeah.
And so that for me was like a way to connect with my teammates and people that I love and just show my love through food.
Yeah.
And so, that's been my little side part, you know, my side gig outside of it when I need just a break from basketball, and two, when I just want to feel creative in a different way. And so, you know, different chefs along the way through my basketball journey in different cities I've gotten to learn from. And, you know, that for me, I'm really grateful for, because they've taken me under their wing. And it's like, you know, now that it's become like trendy, you know, being on TV and all the things, like the real chefs know, like, it's not glitz and glam. So
none of this is glitz and glam.
None.
I mean, having a podcast is not glitz and glam. It's research. It's like making sure that you know what you're doing. It's figuring out interview techniques. It's all of that. What you're doing, basketball, is not glitz and glam. It is grit and grind.
Hello.
So it looks much different, but that's why I have people on the podcast to share what's going on behind the scenes, because you just told us about you being a chef, a piano player, you know, a myriad of things about you, because we're all complex people who don't have to fit into one thing. And we don't have to just do one thing for 50 years, which the generations before us kind of perpetuated that you just have to get in one job and stay there.
That's what they knew. And it's like, you know, we're fortunate to be in a time where we know that's not the truth, and we're able to act on it. There's so many things that they couldn't act on because of the political climate, the cultural climate, you know, societal climate, whatever. And it's like, now we have that luxury to be able to do that. And so I think that's been the cool part, is like, we still have that little bit of like old soul in us where like, no, you got to work to get what you want. But it's like, there's a way to go about it. And now it's like, now you have options. So if you're working for something that you want and you're like, actually, this doesn't fulfill me and I don't feel good in this,
I can pivot.
You can pivot, but you also know like, but I need this, because I know if I need to make a living to be able to pivot, I have to have X, Y, and Z set. So there's still that mindset of like making sure you're prepared and taking that best route, but also understanding that you have options. And I think that's the cool part of life.
No, it is 100%, which leads me to my next question on whether or not this new age should go to college, because that's a hot discussion. And I have it with everybody who sits in this chair.
Honestly, for me, I feel like education is key. I think to have an education is very important, but I don't think it's one direction. Like, yes, college is great, but there are so many trade schools. There are so many other ways that you can learn and be helpful and have a career that doesn't necessarily have to be a 4-year university. But I do think there needs to be something where you go to get educated in that way, because you can't become an expert in something without having that knowledge. And so I feel like knowledge is power. And so, but I don't necessarily think it has to be a 4-year university. No. But I do think, cause like, for instance, I think about family and friends, and it's like, I know of a family member that like a 4-year university wouldn't be good, but going to a trade school to become an electrician, you know, would be something that they would thrive at. You know? And so like I think understanding the best way that you learn, understanding what it is that you're wanting to do, is important. But I do think knowledge is power.
100%. Well, I agree with you. I tell everybody I met my entire network in college, and it continued to flourish. I had a videographer for an event that I did on Sunday, and we went to college together. So 15 years later, he has a company here in Nashville, and he's flourishing. But if I didn't meet him in college, then I wouldn't have this network to be able to do the work that I'm doing now. And then Erin and her brother, who own this studio, I didn't meet them in college, but they're from Memphis. And like we said, Tennessee Tennessee is a long state, but it's kind of small.
Yeah.
Everybody's so connected in some shape, form, or fashion. And you and Aaron were talking about somebody you all knew from Vanderbilt. So the collegiate network is also a thing that I think people should understand and know that you can tap into too.
And that's such a good point. Networking is such a big part of, if you can ask, I mean, and I've been able to sit down with like billionaires and real estate, you know, moguls and CEOs and whatever. And every single one of them said networking is why they are where, is one of the reasons why they are where they are.
Yeah.
And so that's such a crucial point, is helping people understand that like your network, I mean, they say your network is your net worth, and like being able to have those connections can really help get you in places that you normally wouldn't have access to.
Yeah. Well, you guys, she's going to be a motivational speaker too. So I'm adding that to your.
Like, do you just want to be my manager at this point?
I got you. You know, I do manage talent, so I can definitely manage you and make sure that you are doing your chef duties and your speaking engagements, and that you are on stage for your show at Bridgestone with the choir. Tell the basketball team that they better start taking voice lessons, because they're hitting the road too.
I'm gonna tell them today.
Yeah. Tell them I said I'm managing Alicia Keys, and we got to come up with a name for the basketball team. Look, because they're coming too. But I got to ask you some questions about Nashville, because everybody wants to come to this city. So what's your favorite coffee shop? I think you got a new one as of today.
I know, honestly, like, shout out to the Well Coffee House, because the fact that they knew what a flat white was.
Yeah.
Aaron's like, she asked them, is there different sizes? And they were like, not if you know what you're doing. And that, to me, you guys have a fan.
All right. Well, House Coffee, you know where to find the brand deal.
Period. Okay.
Yes. She is accepting brand offers. Yes, right now. And then, what's your favorite Nashville restaurant?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I haven't, like, it's changed so much since being here.
Are you into the hot chicken phase?
I'm not, just because I'm like, the ones I've had, again, I'm a foodie, and I know this is going to be I hope I don't bring a lot of controversy your way, but I don't think it has good flavor. I'm like, it's just hot.
It's just hot.
Like, where's the seasoning? Where's the like depth of flavor after I take a bite of it? And sometimes the crunch is soggy, and I'm just like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Just give me a hot wing.
Well, look, the locals have to tell the truth. So yeah, because everybody also thinks that we all wear costumes every day. And
don't even get me started. I'm like,
I have to ask you, Sam, because you're over here. Did you think that we were going to be in cowboy boots and hats today?
Be honest.
No. Like,
okay.
I sort of feel like that's like the tourists bring that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And like I have family that lives like 30 minutes east of Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're not like that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. They're like, oh, and I was like, I bought my first pair of cowboy boots for my best friend's wedding, because that's what we had to wear. That was my first and last time wearing them, and that was 2015.
Yeah.
Really uncomfortable.
Very.
Yeah.
And they're also really heavy.
Yeah. They are heavy.
My dad loved some cowboy boots. And
My dad loved cowboy boots.
Shut up.
Yeah.
My dad, I mean, he had
Where's your dad from? Is he from Tennessee?
He was from California, grew up in Texas too.
Okay.
So like, but that was always.
That's all my dad wore.
Yeah. His hat collection and his boots collection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exquisite.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I might have to, because like he wore the men's size that I wear. That's the size my dad wore. So I might have to tap into his cowboy boot collection and like start rocking some.
Might as well start wearing them. Look, welcome to Nashville, when she's going to be on the sidelines coaching in the cowboy boots. So I feel like you are just doing an incredible job all around. So I'm excited for you.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited I don't want you to retire, because we need this type of energy.
Thank
and
you.
our girls, as a mom of a 3-year-old, need to see this type of energy. So
I appreciate that.
You got to keep doing what you're doing. One word to describe your journey so far.
One word. What's a word? I would probably say resilient. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel resilient.
Yeah.
Just because of where I started to where I am now and everything in between. I think if at any moment had I not decided to just keep going. I mean, I know for a fact I wouldn't be sitting here in this chair where I am, but
Likewise.
yeah.
I love it. Resilience. So I tell everybody that they should choose a word for their year.
Yeah.
Is that also your word for your year?
No, my word for this year is tenacity.
Okay. My word for this year is joy.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It's happening. I feel joy
Oh,
because
good.
joy is full of all the emotions, and so it's my act of resistance.
Yeah,
So
well,
yes, I
resist
feel
on,
that.
honey.
Yes, resist on. So you guys, I want you to go follow Alysha's journey. So where can they find you on social media?
This is going to surprise you. It's really wild. Just Alysha Clark on all platforms.
Alysha Clark until she becomes Alysha Keys. So.
Alysha Keys with a C.
Alysha Keys with a C. But then you're also going to the Seattle Storm.
I am going back.
Yeah, you're
I'm
going
so
back.
excited.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
They announced it at the game the other night too.
Oh, did they? I didn't even hear. Oh.
Yeah. I was wondering if you were paying attention because you were out on the court and they announced it. So.
I literally hear and see nothing when I'm on the court or when I'm playing. I'll have people like, oh, I was yelling and waving. And I was like, girl,
yeah.
I was out there trying to figure out what play they're about to run. I'm not worried about who's waving or saying.
Yeah. Well, see, I was. That's why I was like, I got to get out of basketball because I hear my brother on the sideline saying, man, she sucks. So for me, I'm like, no. I actually would rather just get on stage myself, give a keynote address. I don't know. That's more comfortable for me than being out there with 10 people I have to compete with. I'm like, 9 people I have to compete with. So any final thoughts for young athletes wanting to go in the direction of the WNBA? Because I think this new generation of athletes, they have more exposure to what this looks like. So they probably do have it on their vision boards to make it pro by all means necessary.
Yeah. I think the advice I would give is make sure your work ethic matches your outward projection of the things that you're doing. Because it's beautiful that they have access and this ability to get all these sponsorships and, all these eyes are on them, et cetera. But like, make sure your work ethic matches that, because at the end of the day, this is a job. I'm fortunate that I get to play basketball, but like, it's a job. And if you aren't, like any other job that you are going to have in life, if you aren't performing and doing your part, like you'll be unemployed.
That's a word.
Yeah. And I think people sometimes forget that. Yeah. And, the discourse around our league this past year was like, oh, it's so easy, And it's like, no, these are real life grown women working and doing their job. And so, just make sure your work ethic matches, what you're out there doing. And then too, just make sure like you're enjoying it because it's a grind. The league is growing. There's more games. It's, sometimes you're playing back to back or every other night for a week straight. And it's like, you have to love it and you have to have that joy when you're playing. So just make sure that you enjoy it as well.
Yeah. And then it's also cool to me that you guys get to do WNBA, but then you have options like Athletes Unlimited to give you an option to play with other professionals as well. So how does somebody get into that? Do they come recruit you? Is it the same way or?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. They have players. So there's a player executive committee that's comprised of actual, like the players that are playing. And so, they sit down and have discussions about, the players that they would want to see in this league. And so sometimes it's the networking of who you know what I mean? Like maybe you aren't a top player, but like your dream is to get into the W. And that's something that this league has been able to provide the last 4 years is be a stepping stone for players trying to get into the league, get back into the league. And so, for instance, if you know one of the player executive committee people and you're a good human and you're like, hey, my dream is to do this, they can put that on the radar of the league and then they can reach out, to your agent or whomever, and then you get an opportunity. So it's a little of both. Like they came to me and asked me and told me about it and asked if I wanted to play. And then the other part of it is like, again, the players being like, hey, Jasmine is a great player and a person, like, why don't you reach out to her and see? So it's a little bit of both. Yeah. And so, this league has been great. Like there's been a lot of players who were out of the league that because they played in AU and, GMs and coaches came, they got a training camp contract. I mean, Sydney Colson is a perfect example of that. Lexi Brown, they talk about it openly. And they were like, AU gave me the opportunity to get back in the league. And that's something that is so powerful. You know what I mean? For a lot of these players. And again, with the expansions coming, these GMs and coaches need to see you play against other professionals. And it's, overseas is cool, but being here domestically and playing against current players, et cetera, it gives them a better idea. And so, just making sure that you stay ready. Yeah. And make sure if this is what you want to do, reach out. You see all the players on the roster, somebody, a degree of separation. Reach out to somebody and let them know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you guys know where to find Alysha Clark, Alysha Keys with a C. But then also I want to encourage you all to go check out AU. AU's doing some miracle work, apparently. So I love what they're doing for moms and, parents, because that's a heavy load to carry on top of doing the job of basketball. Yeah. I love how you shared that it is a job, because even when you're doing what you love, I think sometimes people have a hard time seeing it as a job. Yeah. Because even as a podcaster or an influencer, people think that we take pictures, or it's not as dynamic as it is. And it very much so is. So I love that you're also sharing the business behind you getting out there and doing what you love. Yeah. So keep it up.
Thank you. I will.
You guys go follow Alysha, and also go follow AU. Keep up with the schedule, because they're going to be in Nashville for the entire next month until mid-March, right?
Or March 2nd.
March 2nd, yeah. And then after that, they'll be back again, I assume, because Nashville is setting records.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They have to.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yay, we did it.